well, I just want to say Marcus has a real talent for channeling things, and my style is different. I use notes because I want to make certain points that are important that I can't forget. So it's a totally different style. So I have my notes here, and that'll keep me on purpose. I'd like you all to pick one thing you want to have healed in your body. If you have a diagnosis from a doctor, be sure and pick that one. If you don't have any problems in your body, I commend you. You can pick an emotional issue also. But if you have anything going on in your body, tension, pain, symptoms, disease, you should pick that one. So write down the thing you want to work on, and make sure you have extra paper handy for a truth process. And if you've done it before on this symptom, you might want to do it again because you might get new information. So sometimes you need to do the truth process several times on the same symptom. Now, the first part that I'm going to talk about, you might have heard if you've done the LRT. It will not hurt you to review it, however. The second part is new information I got during my rebirthing sessions every week during the pandemic. So that'll be some new information. There are 3 steps to spiritual healing. Now, I came up with these 3 steps, and I was a nurse for 14 years. And what I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with what I learned in medicine. Medicine is not metaphysical. The medical profession is not metaphysical. So what I'm going to talk about, I learned from the Course in Miracles and metaphysics. And it's more important that you get this part. We try to do self-healing first before we go to a doctor. If you need to go to a doctor, you should not feel guilty. Sometimes you need a doctor. One time I had an out-of-the-body experience, and I got up at night and I tripped and I fell and I hit the wall and I broke my shoulder. Well, I don't know how to heal my broken bone by my mind yet. So I went to a doctor and he fixed it. So I had no guilt about that. If you need to go to a doctor, fine. But first of all, you should try to heal yourself spiritually on your own, and you may not need to go to the doctor. There are 3 steps to spiritual healing. Number 1, you find the cause of the condition. And I'll teach you how to do this later. Just write down, find the cause. Number 2, confession. You need to confess to God or someone, a friend or anyone, what the thoughts are that you had that caused the condition. And number 3 is spiritual purification techniques to release the thoughts. Number 1, find the cause. They never do that in the medical profession. They say it's a virus or it's whatever. They never find the mental cause of the condition. That's why people go and they get treated in medicine. They get some pills, they get better, but then they could get the condition back because they never handled the thought that caused the condition in the first place. So that's the problem with the medical model. They do not study the mental cause of the condition. Okay, so there's a few things you need to remember. The mind always rules the body. Okay? So instead of trying to heal yourself by working on the body, you have to work on the mind that caused the sickness. So the Course in Miracles says all illness is mental illness, period. They don't mean psychiatric. They mean all illness starts with your thoughts. So you have to work on the mind first. Any sickness is also a conflict in the mind that you take out on the body. You are replacing God with the ego when you're sick, okay, or when you have a pain. That's replacing God with the ego. You're sticking your ego where God is and pushing out God when you have any condition in the body. The part of your body that's ill is where you are holding on to the ego. The ego is a false self you made up to replace God. And you are indulging in negative thinking. So you could say the ego is a collection of all your negative thoughts that keep you from remembering you're one with God. The ego starts with a belief in separation. I'm separate from God, therefore I'm guilty. Guilt demands punishment, therefore I have fear. That makes me angry. And it goes downhill from there. Guilt, fear, anger causes pain, symptoms, depression. And then finally you get some kind of a drama in your body, a sickness or a pain. Remember this, when you are ill or have pain, you are sticking your ego where God should be. You have pushed out God, and now you're putting your ego in the place of that. So all sickness and pain and so on is your ego roaring its ugly head, okay? And the part of your body that's sick is trying to get your attention, okay? If you are interested, you should all get the book. We call it the big book. What's the name of it, Marcus? Messages from the Body. Dr. Michael Lincoln. He gives the metaphysical cause of all illness. If you're a rebirther, you should have this as part of your text that you study. And you can look up in the big book, what is the metaphysical cause of my condition? He lists, it's a big fat book. I call it the big book. He lists all the conditions of every part of your body and what it means metaphysically, and it's pretty intense. And then you have to figure out which thing that he writes applies to you. But we can also find out the answer in the truth process today. But for more information, you can get that book. In sickness, the Course in Miracles says, we are punishing ourselves with this sickness instead of having God punish it. Oh, I'm so bad, I'm going to punish myself with this problem in my body. It's self-punishment. So you don't have to punish me, God. I'll just punish myself because I'm so guilty. And a lot of sickness is due to guilt. And, you know, guilt demands punishment. I always tell you that. And, you know, I am convinced now that most sickness is due to guilt, fear, and anger. And that's what we talked about all day yesterday in this course. So usually it's a guilt, or it's a fear, it's an anger, or it could be all of the above causing your condition. We say all pain is the effort involved in clinging to a negative thought. If you're breathing today and you get a pain in your body, that means you are clinging to some negative thought in that part of your body. And you're clinging with power. It means you're really holding on to this negative thought. And that applies to all symptoms, not just pain. All symptoms are due to clinging to a negative thought. All disease is due to clinging to a negative thought. And so you're clinging to this negative thought with power. And if you keep clinging to it, guess what? It will become a full-blown diagnosis. And this is why I say the minute you get a symptom, you should start processing it with the truth process. If you let it go and build up, it will become something harder and harder, and pretty soon it will be something you have to go to the doctor, and then he will give you, or she will give you, a diagnosis. The minute you get a diagnosis, that gives it more power, and it gets worse, it makes it more real. So I don't like to label anything. I don't even say I'm getting a cold anymore. I never get colds now anyway, but if I got sniffles, I say, oh, I think I need to cry. If I diagnose it as a cold, then I have to get all the different stages as a cold. So be careful when you diagnose yourself. It makes it more real. Now, when you get a serious condition, that's a lot of ego. Like, let's say you cut yourself. Well, that's not so much ego, so it heals itself pretty rapidly. But if you get something inside of your body that's, you know, a real condition that's solid, that means you're really indulging in your ego. So the harder conditions mean more ego, is my point. Okay, so the Course in Miracles says the physician or the doctor is the mind of the patient himself. So that means you become your own doctor. And the Course is always teaching us how to heal ourselves. And the process that I'm going to teach you today will save you a lot of time, because I read the Course in Miracles 4 times before I got this process. My job as a teacher is to save you time. And I'm good at reducing everything down to the nitty-gritty points. And so the truth process I'm going to give you is something I made up. You're not going to find that in any other books. And it's a result of reading the Course in Miracles over and over. All healing is replacing fear with love. This is another quote from the Course in Miracles, which means your condition has to do with your fear of something. And when you give it up, you're replacing the fear with love. That's why I was saying to you lately, you have to love it to heal it. So the part of your body that's suffering, you actually have to love it. And you don't want to do that, but it's what works. You have to love yourself, even though you created it, and you have to love the part of your body. And in the LRT, I always tell this story I learned in Japan. A healer told me he had a client who had metastasis of cancer. Some of you remember this story. And he was not even a smoker, but he was very spiritual. So every day he would bow before his altar and he'd say, "Oh God, I appreciate my lungs so much. They have served me so well." That's all he did. He took no medical treatment and he totally healed himself. So appreciation is a very high frequency. And I am reminding you guys that you should appreciate the part of your body that's suffering. It has served you so well and it's trying to teach you something now. If you aren't careful, you're going to get in a battle with your condition. You're going to get in a mental battle with your symptom, and that doesn't work. And you start getting in a mental battle with your symptom, then it's going to get worse. The Course says, unless you work with the Holy Spirit for your healing, the results will vary. Okay? You may or may not get the results correct. So you should always call in the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, thank you for helping me. I turn over all these thoughts that cause my condition. That's what I would say. And I turn to you, I give you all the thoughts that will prevent me from giving up this condition. That's a simple prayer. An affirmation is a prayer. Holy Spirit, I give you all the thoughts that have caused this condition, all the negative thoughts that have caused this condition. And I also give to you all the negative thoughts that keep me from giving up this condition. That's a new thing that I've added lately, by the way. And I think it's really important. You may be clear on the thoughts that cause your condition, but maybe you're not clear on the thoughts that prevent you from giving up the condition. So don't forget to add that. When you want to be healed, the cells have to receive more light. Okay? That's why we have to do the breathing also. You breathe out the thoughts that cause your condition, and you take in the light as you breathe, okay? The cells need more light for you to get healed. But let's say you have anger. I'm angry that I have this condition. I'm angry that it's taking me so long to get over this condition. Well, that anger will block you from taking in the light in the crown chakra. So the light will just bounce off, and you won't get healed if you have anger. Or if you have too much fear, too much guilt. The anger and the guilt and the fear will make the light bounce off, and it won't go inside. So obviously you have to give up the anger and the fear and the guilt, and then the light can enter during your breathing session. A lot of people, and I've had this myself, when you have a long-term condition, your worst fear is, oh no, I'll never get over this. Now that is the one thing you have to confront, is that thought. Oh, and I think everybody's worst fear, and some of you mentioned this, is I will finally get a condition that I can never get over. Okay? That's where people give up. They think they're, oh, I'm too old now, it's part of my old age, and I'll never get over this, so that I might die from it. So that's the thought that's down there below everything. It doesn't matter what age you are. You can get over anything. Anything that you've created, you can uncreate it. So don't let any doctor tell you that you have something that's incurable. It's not true. Don't buy into that. They say, for example, well, herpes, there's no cure. So don't let any doctor tell you such and such is not curable. That is not the truth. So anything that you created, you can uncreate it. Now the problem is most of us have a fear of miracles. Yes, we want a miracle healing. Oh, I would like to have a miracle healing. I just wake up tomorrow and I'm healed. We have too much fear of that kind of a miracle. Why? Because it's just too outside of our reality. It's too far out there for us. Instant healing. We have too much fear. We're not used to such a thing. But you can pray to the Holy Spirit. I ask you, Holy Spirit, to help me release my fear of miracles. You know, you can do that prayer and it will help. Now, this is an advanced point, but we say, and I'm sure nobody else would be teaching you this, who's not clear on physical immortality, they'd never be teaching you this. All healing is temporary until you heal death. Okay? So, first of all, your illness is your death urge. You're trying to kill off God is what you're doing. You're trying to kill off your life force is what you're doing. It's your death urge. But if you don't heal your death urge, you will just make up a new way to kill yourself. Like, for example, let's say you have cancer. Okay, we can heal cancer now. Yeah, we can. But if you don't heal your death urge, you'll just make up another way to kill yourself, which would be a different disease. So all healing is temporary until you heal death. Just remember that all sickness is your death urge. So you have to strengthen your life urge besides whatever else you're doing to heal yourself. And for me, when I had major illnesses, it was always after when someone died. Okay, so first of all, my father died when I was 17, right? So then I got this pain in my body, and my menstrual periods completely stopped for 1.5 years. And then I got this pain in my body, and it would migrate. So I knew it was emotional, but that didn't help me any. I had this for years until I finally got to rebirthing, and when my first few rebirthing sessions, I cleared that permanently. So you can see why I became a rebirther, okay? So, okay, then I got over that. Then my sister died, okay? Then I got a condition which I called acute hypothermia. I was freezing, even in the summer. I mean, and I could be wearing a fur coat and people say, you look really cold. And it was so bad that I could walk in a room where there was heat and the heat would shut off and turn to air conditioning. Hot water would turn to cold in my presence. That is how bad it was. And that was really hard for me to heal too. And that took a while. Well, then I finally got over that. Then my mother died, okay? And when somebody in your family dies, your death urge gets activated, okay? So my death urge was activated again, created another condition. 1 year after she died on the exact date, I got acute sudden anorexia. I was in Berlin. First of all, the wall had just come down and everything was depleted, so it was really activating. And I went in my hotel and I went to the restaurant, I ordered a meal, and I picked up the fork and I could not move it into my mouth. I could not eat. I couldn't even get the food in my mouth. That's how bad it was. And this was really tough, and on top of that I had insomnia. So then I had to completely quit work and go into seclusion, and I call it the dark night of the soul. So I would say most of my illnesses came up after someone died in your family, and that's when you really need help, you really need support, you need to be careful, because your death urge gets so activated when someone dies, and if you don't watch out, you might get sick. I just thought of a story. I was rebirthing this wealthy man in San Diego, and he had heart pains, and I was so afraid he was going to have a heart attack. And I got him through it. I think I rebirthed him for about 3 hours. The next day, his very beautiful high pedigree dog died of a heart attack. Can you imagine? And the dog was totally healthy. So the dog actually took on the illness from his master. And children will do that too. You have to be very careful. Children will act out your subconscious mind and take on your illnesses. And even his pet took on his heart attack. It was amazing. I just remembered that story. You are going to be healed when you're ready to be healed. Now, if it takes a long time, maybe you have a lot more stuff to learn. When you get to the point you say, I have no more need for this, I've learned everything I need to learn, then you probably will get over it. But there is so much to learn, and every symptom, in my opinion, or every disease or every condition is a teaching for you. It's an absolute teaching. It's trying to tell you, hey, wake up. Your mind is off. Your symptom is kind of a cure in process. Your symptom is shouting at you, hey, wake up. You see what you're creating in your body, your mind is really off. And so it's a way of really getting your attention. That's why I say the minute you get a symptom, you should do the truth process and find out what are the thoughts that cause it. Otherwise, if you wait, it will develop and develop. I'm thinking of a rebirther once in Memphis, and I was at her house, and I said, I'll give you a free rebirthing, blah, blah, blah. She confessed to me she had a lump in her breast. Well, she had had it for quite a long time. I said, well, let me feel it, because I was a nurse, right? I had been a nurse, and it was really large. I said, why did you wait so long to get this handled? Well, you know, rebirthers, they don't want to admit that they have anything wrong with them. So she was hiding it. But guess what? She waited way too long. You know, so if you're a rebirther, don't be like that, because all of us might get symptoms even though we're breath workers at times. You know, if someone dies, you could get triggered. But she waited too long, and it was too late by the time she showed it to me. And I was the only person she told about it. And I said, you go to the doctor immediately. But she waited too long, and guess what? She died. Okay? So don't be like that. Don't be afraid to tell somebody you have a symptom. Contact us and we'll give you a private session, and then we can get you through it. And you may have to see a doctor. I said that earlier. I mean, don't be guilty if you need to go to a doctor. The other thing you really need to get, and this is really important, sickness is competition with God. It says that in the Course in Miracles a lot. You are in competition with God when you are indulging in your ego. Okay? See, well, God is saying you are perfect, and you're saying, no, I'm not good enough, no, I'm not. Your personal lie is competition with God, your sickness is competition with God, you know. So, in a way, I had to actually say, I give up my competition with God, you know. I think that really helped me to admit certain conditions. I'm giving up my competition with God. It was part of my healing. And we are going to go over the truth process in a minute, but I want to make a few more points. Yeah, so here's what I did. These are some prayers I did. I let go of my power trip of not letting anyone heal me so I could be the king. Now that's what helped me heal my anorexia. It took me a long time to get that exact prayer. I let go of my power trip of not letting anyone heal me so I could be the king, which means I could be the king, which is competing with God. My ego is trying to be the king and compete with God. So that's a power trip that I was on. So when I said that, when I got the right prayer, my healing of my anorexia started. And it took me a long time to figure this prayer out. I let go of my power trip of not letting anyone heal me so I could be the king. And Holy Spirit, I no longer deny you your ability to bestow your blessing of healing unto me. Those two prayers really broke me through. I'll say them again. I let go of my power trip of not letting anyone heal me so I could be the king in my competition with God. And Holy Spirit, I no longer deny you your ability to bestow your blessing of healing unto me. I knew the Holy Spirit wanted to heal me, but I was not allowing it, right? So why wasn't I allowing it? I thought I was supposed to die like everybody else in my family had died. Well, how come I get to live? You know, so I was survivor's guilt. Everybody's died in my family, my mother, my sister, my father, and I'm here, and I was maybe thinking, well, then I should die too or whatever, so my death urge was really roaring. When you have a symptom or a diagnosis or a sickness, try not to go down to the vibration of the condition. Okay, the condition is a low vibration. See, anger is a low vibration, fear is a low vibration, guilt is a low vibration, and that's what causes your illness, and your illness is a low vibration. So try not to go down to that level. You have to do whatever you can to stay in a high vibration when you're sick. Like, people don't want to do that. They start indulging in their problem, indulging in their condition, and they match energies in their mind with the condition, obsessing about it. If you can stay high by doing spiritual practices, doing things you love, having fun, feeling good, declaring your happiness, like Marcus said this morning, those things will keep you in a high vibration. That was what that guy did in Japan that healed himself. Oh, God, I appreciate my lungs so much. They have served me so well. He was staying in a high vibration even though he had this condition. He wasn't lowering himself to the level of the condition. So you have to be really careful on that. I mean, these are things I've learned this year during the pandemic, by the way. And when you get a symptom, don't start battling with it. You want to be grateful to the symptom. I know that sounds crazy, but I am so grateful to you for teaching me this part of my ego. You are showing me a part of my ego that I need to heal, so I am so grateful. I am grateful to my digestive tract. I am grateful to whatever it is, whatever part of your body is. And I give that part of my body to the Holy Spirit, I give that part of my body to the Holy Spirit for cleansing. And that's a good prayer also. All conditions are an opportunity in a way. So you want to see it as an opportunity to work out your ego. And therefore you become more enlightened. A lot of people who recover from major conditions, they get really enlightened because they worked out so much ego, right? So that's why you should have gratitude for the condition instead of fear or resentment or whatever. Oh, I'm grateful to this part of my body for showing me my ego, and this is getting me more enlightened, and this condition is getting me closer to God. These are the kind of thoughts you have to have if you want to be healed. This condition is teaching me something, and it's showing me my ego, and it's getting me closer to God. Those are the kind of reactions that you need to have. If you start resenting it or hating it or feeling guilty about it, it's going to get worse. For me, when I had a condition during the pandemic, I noticed I was angry about it, then I was guilty about it, and I thought, wait a minute, that is making it worse. And when I was doing my rebirthings with Babaji, he was pointing out that you are angry about this condition and you are guilty about it, and you're just adding more drama to it, and you are making it worse. So that's when I came up with this thought, okay, my condition is a blessing. My condition is getting me closer to God, and I had to reverse all those judgments I had about myself, and that produced a better result. So healing is a chance for you to get closer to God. And I think I already told you, if you give it a label, then it makes it worse. I already covered that point. When you are trying to heal yourself, it's good to lie down and listen to the mantra that we play for you during the rebirthing, one of these mantras by Goma. And they're all praises to God. And you breathe it in, and that's going to be some of your healing. That's one of your healing, is to breathe it into the part of your body. And you can actually rub the area of your body where the ailment is, and say, I put God here, I put Jesus here. I had some digestive problems, so I during the pandemic, so I'd say, I put God here, I put Jesus here, I put Amaji here, I put the Divine Mother here, and I kind of rub that part of my body while I'm listening to the mantra. And that helped too. Otherwise, if I go into guilt or anger or fear, then I'm accentuating the problem, right? But the mantra is the healing and the love, and you have to love that area of your body. I love this area of my body. I put Jesus here, I put God here, I put Amaji here, Babaji here. The masters are here. So that's a technique you can use that I learned during the pandemic. Sometimes it's hard to feel good when you're sick or you have a condition. But if you do anything in life that makes you feel good anyway, then you'll get healed faster. Okay, so you probably say, well, I don't feel very good, but I don't feel very good because I have this condition. But I'm going to do something that makes me feel good. I am going to listen to these mantras. I'm going to take a walk by the ocean. Whatever it is that makes you feel good, like Marcus says, he walks to the Capitol, that makes him feel good. Whatever it is that makes you feel good, do it. And that will help you heal yourself faster. The main ingredients you need in your mind are peace, joy, and relaxation. So whatever gives you peace, whatever gives you joy, whatever makes you relax, do that even though you have this condition. And it will help you. And I think I've said to some of you, while you're breathing, if you have a condition, send love to love yourself more than you've ever loved yourself, with feeling. Okay, I have this condition in my body, and while I'm breathing, I'm going to love myself, and I'm going to send love to that part of my body and all parts of my body while I'm breathing. And even if you have to lie there and say, I love myself because I did this well and that well, or think of good things you've done, or think of good things about yourself, even if you have to do that during the breathe, that will be good. I'm a good person because I accomplished this, or praise yourself for stuff. It's called praise saturation. Okay? Praise saturation is not only good for you, and it's good for others. If you want to heal other people, praise them. If you want to produce a healing on somebody, give them a compliment. Praise them. That's called praise saturation. Praise yourself. Praise the other person who is sick, and you can help heal them. Okay, so then here's the issue of faith. Babaji says faith is everything. Now, I used to have a lot of faith, and I think I told you yesterday that Babaji was always teaching me absolute certainty, which is the same as faith, okay? And check yourself what your faith level is, okay? And at one point, I was down to 50%. Now I got back up to 90. But I used to have 100. Now I'm trying to get back up to 100. But I went through quite a bit of stuff during this pandemic, so I kind of lost some faith. But that's not going to help me. What's going to help me is getting my faith back, okay? And faith is certainty, okay? So you have to have certainty that you can be healed. This is a real test, because sometimes you feel if it takes you a long time to heal something, you're going to lose faith and you're going to lose certainty. But what's going to heal you is remaining certain that the answer will come, and you have to remember the Bible verse, all things are possible. All things are possible. So I always go back to that and I say, okay, Jesus, you said it in the Bible, all things are possible, and I'm going to hold you to it, that promise. I'm going to hold you to that promise. So I'm going to have certainty that I can be healed. You have to kind of declare it, just like Marcus was saying, you have to choose happiness. It's the same thing here. You have to choose to stay in faith. And when you're in faith, you attract solutions. When you're not in faith, you don't attract solutions. When you're not in faith, you get to prove that you're right, that it doesn't work. So whatever faith you're lacking in, you have to work on it. Okay? And you can ask the Holy Spirit to strengthen your faith. I need more faith to know that I can be healed of this. Like I said, it's okay to go to a doctor if you need something removed. Sometimes you just need it removed. But you need to do these things anyway so you won't get the case back again, okay? So let's say you have a lump in your breast or a tumor or something. Okay, get it out of there. But you still have to do all this work on yourself so that you won't recreate it, okay? If you don't, you might recreate the same thing again. People have done it all the time. And you hear people, they get their cancer in remission, and then they get it back, because they didn't do the work on themselves to process what caused them to get the cancer in the first place. Another thing I figured out during these breath sessions that I had is that my symptom was trying to get rid of something from my past, okay? So you want to go back to when you got this condition. Okay, what was going on? Was it a year ago? Was it 2 years ago? You got this pain, or was it a month ago? Go back to when the first time you got this condition. Then you figure out what was going on in my life that triggered this condition. This is important information. What is the triggering factor that caused this condition? That's where your mind is stuck. So when you have a condition, you're stuck on something in your past. So you've got to go back and clear what that past thing is that you've never cleared. And so it's like the past is rearing its ugly head when you have a condition. So what was it in your past that you are processing? And it's easier to clear the thing in the past than it is to wrestle with your condition, your symptoms, and keep wrestling with them. You need to know what was the triggering factor. Here's a nice affirmation I came up with. I am in the dimension of my perfection. Well, that's important to me because my personal I'm not perfect. But a lot of times now your personal I is causing your condition. You have to find that out if it's part of your personal I. Then the tricky part is your personal I could keep you from giving up the condition, right? Maybe I had a symptom because I thought I wasn't perfect, so I get to prove I'm not perfect by having this condition. Well, then I can't give up the condition because I'm not perfect. So your personal lie is a double whammy. So maybe your personal lie is causing the condition, and maybe your personal lie is keeping you from giving up the condition. So that is a very deep thing you have to process. Okay, so I now clear my mind of anything that would oppose what's normal. What's normal is perfect health. So I'm going to clear my mind of anything that opposes that. And that's why I like that lesson Marcus mentioned at the end. I am as God created me. That's the truth of me. I am perfect. I am holy. I am good. I am, all your good things, God created you perfect. So that kind of affirmation, I am as God created me, kind of wipes out all that other stuff that he didn't create. Now, if the healing is taking a long time, you have to forgive yourself. So I had this digestion thing going on quite a bit during the pandemic because I had some very deep stuff that I wasn't looking at, like past life stuff coming up, because I was home here all this time, and I'm not used to being home. I was running around the world, and I was always really healthy. Then I got home here, just sitting here, and I realized my father was always sick when he was at home, and then he was in the hospital, then he'd come home and he'd be sick, and my whole childhood was like that. So I had it wired up that if I stay home, I'm going to be sick. Really, I didn't even know that because I'd never stay home. I've been running around the world all the time, running from that situation where you're sick. So here I am sitting at home, and my thought was, oh, sickness and being at home all the time is going to make me sick because my father was always sick at home. So it took me a long time to figure out that pattern, and that's what it was. I'm not used to having to stay home during a pandemic, so I got some symptoms. And it might take time for you to unwire what the causative factors are. I finally figured that out. But I had to forgive myself because I couldn't figure that out for the first part of the pandemic. And then I was guilty because it was taking me so long to figure out why I wasn't being healed. And of course, I didn't give up. So then I finally got the answer. But the guilt will always make it worse. Now, keeping the symptom is going to rip you off from the joy. So if you are afraid of joy or you don't think you deserve joy, then you might keep the symptom so you can't be in joy. However, the joy will heal you. So the symptom keeps you from being in joy, but if you could be in joy, you'd get healed. So then you have to figure out what gives me joy in my life, okay? And you do more of that. And the joy is such a high frequency that it will help you get healed. So when you have a condition, you should do what makes you feel good and whatever gives you joy, and that will help you in the healing process. Yeah, and again, you want to thank, put your hands on your body and say, I thank you. Wherever I put my hands on my body, I said to my digestive tract, I thank you. I thank you for being so good to teach me this. I thank you for always having worked for me. And, I started thanking the part of my body that I was working on, and that helped me too. I now stay in certainty and faith. And I give the Holy Spirit the part of my body that's being affected. So I'm ready to experience my perfection in this part of my body. I'm ready to put joy in this part of my body. I'm ready to put appreciation in this part of my body. Those kind of thoughts is what you need. Another thing is getting really excited about something. When you're excited about something, it's such a high frequency that will heal you too. So feeling good, joy, and getting excited about something were things that helped me. I would say those that were high vibrations. Feeling good, having appreciation, and getting excited about something. Those three things have really helped me. Here's a prayer I did. I am the perfect love of God. That was the beginning of the prayer. I am the perfect love of God. Therefore, I'm always perfect. I'm always innocent. I had to go in these stages and write this. Therefore, all guilt is gone. All anger is gone. All resistance is gone. And all unwillingness is gone. Now, when you're not getting healed, there's a part of you that is stuck in unwillingness. I'm unwilling to get better because my personal lie is taking over. I'm unwilling to change this because I don't deserve it, okay? And Marcus used to say his teacher talked a lot about unwillingness. So when you're not getting healed, maybe you're unwilling to be healed because of your case, because of your guilt, because you don't deserve it. So that's why I put, all guilt is gone in me, all anger is gone in me, all resistance is gone in me, and all unwillingness is gone in me. Therefore, my symptoms are now gone. So that was a prayer that I did that helped me during the pandemic for this digestive problem. And you can make your own prayers, but I was basing that on my personal I am not perfect. I am the perfect love of God, therefore I am always perfect, therefore I am always innocent. All guilt is gone, all anger is gone, all resistance is gone, all unwillingness is gone, and therefore my symptoms are gone. I don't have any more need for these symptoms. Okay, so that was a prayer that really helped me. You can borrow that one. Okay, so now we've done that is kind of a lecture on healing that I wanted to give you. And now we have time to do the truth process, and then we will discuss it. So those of you that did the LRT know this, but I'm going to go over it again for the new people. This is called the ultimate truth process. And I made it up. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. Okay, number 1, write this down. The exact negative thought that caused my condition was. Okay? And you don't say, I don't know, because if you say, I don't know, you can't find out, and that makes you not be able to look and see. You do know. The answer is within you. So you assume you know. You say, the exact negative thought that caused this condition was, and you write it out. So let's do that one now. Everybody do that one. Okay, the next one is, my payoff for keeping this condition is. Okay, let me explain what a payoff is before you write it. A payoff is a neurotic benefit you're getting out of it. Okay, and the Course in Miracles says you won't be healed till you give up your payoff. So your payoff could be, well, I get attention. People notice me and they help me. Or I don't have to go to class or work. Or if you have a sexual ailment, a sexual thing, symptom, maybe your payoff is you don't have to have sex, as if you're afraid of sex. Or what is your payoff? What are you getting out of it? What's your neurotic benefit? So everybody write this down. My payoff for keeping this condition is. I mean, even if it comes out weird, a weird answer, that's okay. And you only work on one condition at a time on this truth process, by the way. You can apply this to other conditions later, but just be working on the one thing you put down today. Okay, number 3. This is really important. My fear of giving up this condition forever is. What would happen if you gave it up? What are you afraid would happen? Maybe you'd be in your power and you'd have to deal with your fear of power. Or maybe you'd get more love and you don't know how to handle love, or whatever. It might be something crazy. My fear of giving up this condition forever is. Okay, number 4. If this condition could talk, what it would say to me is. Write that down and fill in the blank. If this condition could talk, what it would say to me is. Your symptom is your teacher. It's trying to teach you something. If this condition could talk, what it would say is. Okay, the next one is really important. I will let go of this condition when, fill in the blank. What has to happen before you'll give it up? I will let go of this condition when. All right, so I will work with some of you individually in a minute, but I want to do step 3. First we did find the cause. Well, we could do the confession now, and we'll have some people confess it, and then later is spiritual purification technique. So let's do the confession part now. Now we did number 1, which was find the cause, which was the truth process. Number 2 was the confession, where 3 people just did that, so you know what the confession is. Number 4 is you do spiritual purification techniques to release the thoughts. So that I'm going to give you those now, okay? So you might want to jot these down. Okay, obviously, number 1, we would say our affirmations. Obviously, that we are doing that. Number 2, I have prayer. And I gave you a couple prayers I was working on. You can make your own prayers. Number 3 would be chanting. Chanting Om Namah Shivaya. You can get that online. There's a lot of different tunes to Om Namah Shivaya. It's the highest thought for healing. Number 4 would be gratitude. If you can, keep a gratitude journal. And you get a nice book with a beautiful leather covering on it. That's something that's very attractive to you to write in. On the left side, it's very simple and it's very powerful. You write everything you're grateful for today. And on the right side, you write what you want to have as if you already have it. So let's say, I am grateful that I have a new position at work, or I am grateful that I have a new partner. Whatever you act as if you have it. And you give gratitude in advance. So you do that on the right side of the page. And this is fun and it feels good. And it's a purification. So if you don't have a gratitude journal, I would do it. Okay, obviously the next one would be liberation breathing. You know, affirmations, prayer, chanting, gratitude, liberation breathing. You know, these are ones we use in this community all the time, and they work. The next one would be the Course in Miracles, which you know we do that. You can try any of these or all of these. You figure out which one of these particular purification techniques works the best for you. Sometimes I do one, sometimes I do another one. Another thing you can do is fasting. Just go on a 3-day water fast and your whole life will change. And you'll be amazed that when you stop thinking about food, you tune into God more and you get answers. The next one is sweat lodges. I used to do a lot of sweat lodges, but you should only do a sweat lodge with somebody who's a real shaman. And what they do is they dig a hole in the ground, they put rocks, and they put, fire under them and make the rocks really hot. And then they have a big tent, and you go in there, and then the shaman pours water on the rocks, and you steam. It's like a huge steam bath. But it's kind of dangerous if you do it wrong. There was one guy that had a plastic over the sweat lodge. I don't know why in the hell he did that, and people died. So you might have heard of that. But so I wouldn't do sweat lodge unless you have a real trained shaman to do it with, but it's very powerful for healing. The next one is fire purification. You have to have a real fire, and you meditate on the fire, and it burns up your karma, and it burns up your illness, your negativity. Of course, I recommend body work. Deep tissue is really good. I mean, I don't like just to go for a massage. It's kind of boring for me, but I like deep tissue work. And it's where they work on the fascia. Like there's rolfing, where they work on the fascia, and it's very powerful. Cranial work, they work on your cranial bones, and it changes your body. That's good. Acupuncture is good. And then the last ones I have down is go to an ashram and get a mundan. And a mundan is a head shave. Now, I have found that to be extremely powerful. I've done it many times. It should be done in a spiritual setting. The best place to do it is in Babaji's ashram in Harakan, obviously, by the Ganges River. And I did my first head shave there, and I kept it shaved for 9 months. And this was something Babaji recommended. Totally changed my life. Totally changed my life. After my head shave, I could write books really fast. It used to take me a long time to write a book. I could write a book in 2 weeks after my first head shave. That's how much creativity came out of me. One of my students had a tumor, I think she had a fibroid on her uterus, and it was giving her trouble, and she didn't want to have surgery, and I said, well, then you better shave your head. So she did, and the fibroid dissolved. That's how powerful head shaving is. But don't just go to a barber and get your head shaved. You need to do it in a spiritual ceremony. That's for extreme cases. I've done it for many different reasons. I always shave my head when a family member died, and to clear out the death urge, But if you really have an extreme case, I would recommend a head shave. And then there's the ashram, and when you go to an ashram, it's so different than your ordinary life that you have to change. The routine of an ashram is so different than your ordinary life, you're forced to change. And we are hoping, we always take people to Babaji's ashram in India every year, but we haven't been able to go for 2 years because of the pandemic. And we were counting on going it this year, and now we found out the Omicron, we don't know if we can even go this year. So we'll have to let you know on that one. These are the things that I've used. All these things work for purification. Yeah. Now, anybody else have any questions on healing?
I have a question about if you're doing emotional healing, where do you where do you hold your hand over your heart during the breathing?
Yeah. You mean if you're trying to heal like fear or guilt or anger or something?
Right. There's no physical symptom, maybe. My heart has been, fluttering a lot.
Okay. So what? Okay. So what is it? What emotion is making your heart flutter?
Abandonment feelings. Just emotions, sadness, abandonment feelings.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Breathing would be the best. Rebirthing would be the best, and you can certainly put your hand on your heart while you're breathing. But I would use breath work to work out your emotions like that. That's one of the main things to do in breath work.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Something else? Any other question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How does karma play a role
in
the undoing of karma?
Yeah, thank you for that. Right, I wrote a book, by the way, you guys, I forgot to tell you, called Healing and Holiness. I'm trying to revise it now, but it's a really good book. And there is a whole chapter in there about past lives and how it affects your health and so on. Another good book to read is Other Lives, Other Selves by Roger Woolger. It's an excellent book, excellent. Yes, there are situations where your illness is related to a past life, karma. And this can be figured out in a private session. You know, if you have a private session, we can figure out what the karma is. But I know there was one guy who was, it's a true story I read in one of these books. He was a very wealthy entrepreneur, and he got some kind of debilitating disease. And what he did is he quit his high-paying job, and he went and volunteered at a hospital for for children who had the same disease. And he healed himself. He worked out his karma by doing that. So, you know, it is true you can have a condition related to your past lives. I certainly found that out during this pandemic, that I had some past lives I had to clear that I wasn't aware of. So that's a good point. And I would read that book, Other Lives, Other Selves. That would get you clear on a lot of those. Thank you for that question. That's an important question. Okay, anybody else have a question on healing or anything I said? Well, you can also write to me if you don't want to discuss this stuff in front of the group. I told you you can send me an email and I'll help you. So don't forget.
I have one new question.
Yeah.
And thank you for allowing email. What was the name of the big book?
Messages from the Body. What was the author?
Dr. Michael Lincoln.
Dr. Michael Lincoln. Yeah, that's a good book. That's a really good book to have. Yeah, so I just want to say that, yeah. Messages from the Body. Tracy has it right there. Yeah.
Oh.
It's good, isn't it, Tracy? Yeah. Okay, you guys, so if you want to ask me any personal questions, just email me if you don't want to share now. And I really feel that you guys got what I said. I appreciate it, and stay in touch with me about your condition.